This is Karen with New Cleveland Radio, and it's time for Grief BeLIEF. Now, I know we've been off the air for a couple of months because we're all going through things in our own life, whether you call it grief or you just call it life's issues. And you might notice that today we are short one of our coaches, and we want to wish Alison a very happy birthday. She deserves the day that she's having today. So, as I started preparing for today, I started asking ourselves, Christina and Kristy are both grief coaches. I'm a life coach. And oftentimes, when we are with our clients, we hear things that can touch us very intimately. And sometimes they're things that we've been through ourselves, or maybe we've seen one of our other clients go through. And my question to the panel today is, how do you handle that? Because we're human. And I know when I'm hearing somebody just dig deep and be vulnerable with me, sometimes I hear things that really reflect my life. So I'm going to let you just jump in, whoever wants to go first. And how do you take care of yourself?
Mhm.
Okay, then I'm going to call on Kristy.
There are several things I do. First of all, when I first started as a grief coach, I really struggled with this. This was really hard. I just took everything in, and it would just felt oppressive sometimes because we hear a lot of really intense stories of people's lives, and it can be really hard. And so it did take me a while to figure out how to be present, be empathetic, be right there alongside my client, but not carry it with me after I walked away from that session. And I did learn some techniques that really helped me. Meditation is huge. It's something that has really helped me quite a bit. And it's not some crazy deep thing. It's just really just staying focused, about being in your body, focusing on your body. It doesn't have to be this super long session. I usually do at least 2 minutes right before I meet a client. And then afterwards, I'll do 5 or 10 minutes. And that has been huge for me, to be able to just, I want to, my most important thing to me when I go to meet with a client and I do one on one, I want to make sure I am 100% present for that person and for what they're going through. I recently had a car accident right before I met with a client, and it was our final session, and that final session is intense. And I actually had another emergency call like 2 hours before that one that I had scheduled in the morning. Somebody had reached out to me and they had an emergency and needed to talk to somebody. So I had that scheduled at 2 o'clock. I had a meeting with my client at 4 o'clock, and I had a car accident at 12 o'clock. And I was like, how am I gonna be present for these people after I just got, and the car accident was my fault. And how am I going to be present for these people? But I was able to, through using meditation, really be able to be 100% focused on them when I went to meet them. So that's been huge for me. And like I said, it's not some crazy amount of sitting and having for 20 minutes and focusing. It's not. It's really just guided meditation, just making sure you're present in your body, paying attention to your breathing, paying attention to where your body hits the chair when you're sitting on it, paying attention to the noises around you. And all of these things just make you present in your body. And that changes the way your brain works. So it has made a huge difference. So I am much better able to be with a client, be 100% present with them, and then walk away and not carry it with me, all because of guided meditation. And I will say, that I've had a few clients where it's been really, I haven't been able to do it. It's just the stories have been so intense and hit such a deep chord with me. Sometimes, like you said, Karen, it triggers something that's happened in my life. And I specialize in estrangement loss. So I've experienced really intense estrangement loss myself. So that can really trigger things. But I've just learned to sit with the emotion and be like, okay, so you're feeling this, and why are you feeling it, and what needs to happen from here? Because a lot of times it is like a mirror reflecting what's happening in you, so you can actually learn from that emotion that's happening within you. And then I realize, oh, I have some work to do. I have some work to do because what's happening with that person is showing me something that I am not recovered yet from, complete yet with grief in my own relationship with somebody. So that's actually helpful. And then, and then I have a way, we have a way of processing that through the grief recovery method.
So,
So,
one of the things that you're saying that I think is really important is even though we all are coaches and we all have been trained, being human means that we may not be totally recovered either. And
oh, for sure.
and I think that's important. And that's one of the things that I usually will tell my clients almost right from the beginning. Okay. Is you're telling me your story. Hopefully, it's going to help me in certain ways as well. And I think when we work as a team, and that's one of the things I noticed when you and I work together, Kristy, is that I could pick up on your energy and realize that, yes, I can keep moving forward. Or sometimes I would see that you really weren't 100% connected. You were leaning in to find out what I was really going through. And that really was impressive to me because it was like, she really cares. Christina, you too do the grief recovery method. So, what's it like for you? Because everyone is different and clients are all different.
Right, right. So, my experience is a little bit different. My I do support groups. And so Christy may agree that the dynamic when you're working one-on-one with someone is a bit different from the support group because you're really kind of facilitating. And I'm walking with them, but I'm more like leading them and making sure that they're walking through the process. So that's a little bit different, I would imagine. Um, but still, the stories that you hear can impact you. I know it has affected me as a mother. Some of the stories that people share that they've gone through. So I know it has affected me as a mother in ways like how I want to raise my son, right? And so for me, there are a variety of things that I like to do, and it kind of changes. So, like, I went through a season where I was getting into calligraphy and just taking time and just like, writing, journaling. The I like to do puzzles, the old fashioned jigsaw puzzle things, and just work on that. And another thing that's coming up as I'm thinking about this is we are not just because we're grief recovery method specialists, life still happens to us. And so navigating, do I have the space to really help this person? And being able to have those boundaries is really important. Um, and so I'm getting better with that. Obviously, I never want to do a group if I'm personally going through some things and I don't have, the capacity to help them through it. So I do agree with Kristy that doing this work also, as you're listening to others, can bring up things that maybe are unresolved for you. And so it kind of keeps me on my toes, right? To like really work through that so that I can show up for others. So that's just a little bit different ways that I tend to, take care of myself.
So
Yeah,
do
I think
you,
that's a really good point. I I take most of the time, I take all of November and December off. I won't meet with clients November and December. And I've had to be really, really strict about that. And that's been really hard to do because I've had people who've been like, I want to keep going. I want to, because, we can go through the method and then we can do it again and again as many times as you want to, with as many relationships as you want to. And I have had clients who complete one and just want to keep going, which is great. But I had that happen this season, this holiday season, and November and December are, I have a lot of death anniversaries during that time frame, and it's a very emotional time. So I have had to like really, even with that client, I was like, I'm sorry, I have to take. We actually had gone into November. I said, I have to take December off. And they were okay with that and they were able to wait. If they're not, I'll try to find somebody else for them. But I've had, and it's really hard because you want to help. I'm like, that's why I do this, because I want to help people. And it's hard to tell somebody, no, let's find someone else for you, or let's, can you hold off? Or, if you need to find somebody else, we'll find someone else for you. But that's a good point. Having those boundaries for yourself is really important because you're not going to be good to anybody else if you're not okay yourself. So that's a really good point, Christina, that, you really have to keep those boundaries.
I know when I started coaching, I created days and times that I would coach. And I will not coach in the evenings, and I won't coach on the weekends unless somebody absolutely needs it. But I'd rather find them somebody else. And I've run into the fact that I needed to set those boundaries because I was becoming obsessed with trying to help everybody who contacted me. And sometimes we get in that phase. It's like, I need help. Well, if you need help, hey, I'm here for you. But I'm hoping people understand that there are a lot of very good coaches out there. And if we aren't the right ones for you, let us share with you the others who are out there. Coaching can really take a drain on the coach. And in my podcasting, I talk to a lot of coaches regularly, and most of them have gotten into coaching because of an experience. Because of that, they also know when they have to take that step back. And I'm hearing a lot of them saying, I'm taking the year off. I just need to regroup. I need to figure out who I am. Am I doing the right thing? So, for those of you who are listening, don't be surprised if you do meet a coach along the way who does need to take holiday time off or certain times. And there's a lot of people who have children who want to take the summers off. And I know, Christina, you have a son. Do you have specific times that you need to take off?
Oops.
Oh, no sound. Your sound is off. There you go.
There you go. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yes, I mean, my son is really into soccer, so I really plan around his soccer schedule. So it's not really a particular time, but maybe like, I have set days that I'm able to do it and try to just be as flexible as possible with it.
So, how does your family react to this type of business that you're in? Because I know when I first started, my husband was not happy with me. He said, "You're going to take on everybody else's problems." And I said, "Well, in some ways, I already do. But as a coach, I know what those boundaries are. When it's personal friends, sometimes, yes, I take those things on. If you remember, Kristy, one of the groups we were in, I used to take on what somebody else would say in the group, and it would just like start to destroy me. But yet, as a coach, I have learned, um, take that deep breath, realize that this is their story, not yours. But my husband finally has gotten around, and he realizes that, I'm not there to cure anybody. I'm there curing a story, and I can separate myself most of the time. How does your family feel? Either
Was
one of
that
you.
for Kristy?
Either one of you.
Oh, okay. Well, for myself, I'm grateful that they're very supportive. I didn't really get any, like, how's the word? Any bad feedback, rather. I think the concern was because I work a full-time job, is sometimes I tend to take on too much. So I know that that was kind of a concern initially, but overall, my family is very supportive. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I have the same thing. My family is very supportive, very proud of me, and um, it's funny because a lot of times people, not my family so much, but um, one of the first things they'll ask me is this very question, like, how do you do this, and how do you not take it on and carry it with you? So it's interesting that we're talking about this today because it is a question I get asked all the time. How do you manage that? And I did not know how to manage that when I started. I had no idea, and I just kind of figured it out along the way. And I think that's what you do, you're figuring it out along the way as you go too, what to do. One of the other things I started doing, we were talking about this before we hopped on here, was I started decorating cookies. So cookie decorating. And it's funny because it's almost the extreme opposite of grief. It's like cookies are happy, and they're almost always for a happy occasion. And they just make people happy and smile. So it was one of the reasons that I decided to do cookie decorate. I had no idea. I had never done it before, and 2 years ago I decided I'm going to try this and see how it goes. And now I'm in it, and it's a lot of fun, and it is the extreme opposite of grief and sadness. It's just fun and happy, and it's a good outlet.
Well, and you also babysit for your granddaughter, and
Mm.
that is the total opposite too. And when you share her pictures and you talk about the things that you do, I'll tell you, especially if they come at a time when I'm feeling like overwhelmed, that'll make me smile. It'll be like, look at her, look what she's doing. Oh, look how proud grandma is of her. And so I think sometimes we have to find that other thing that we can have in our life.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, because I don't have grandkids. I don't have any kids that even live around me. So I don't even see that. But when I do see little kids, I make sure that I interact because they do, bring the
Mhm.
life back into you.
They are fun.
So last month, Alison was going to uh, lead the group. And sadly, her mother-in-law, Joy, who's 102 years old, had a fall. Luckily, she didn't break anything. She's, her feisty self. She's still playing the piano and doing the things that she loves. But when I read that last month, I felt the grief, not so much for Joy, but for Alison as the caregiver. Do you get caregivers who come to you for coaching as well, or for understanding grief? Because caregivers see it all the time.
Mhm. Yeah, I haven't. I do have caregivers that come to me, but not for the method itself, just, navigating that. And I think that's something that people unfortunately don't look at as grief. There is a lot of changes that the person you're caring for is going through that you're having, to take on. It takes a physical toll, emotional, mental, right? And so I just help them to acknowledge that, and that is okay. Like, what you're experiencing is not, there's not anything wrong with you. That's normal. And it's okay to ask for help, because a lot of caregivers, I feel like that is one of the things that they have trouble asking for help.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's been my experience.
I have also had caregivers come to me, but they didn't come to me because of their caregiving position. They came because of a loss. And then as we went through the process, they realized, oh, I'm actually, this whole process of me taking care of these other people, I'm grieving. And like Christina said, they didn't recognize that that was even grief. A lot of times people don't recognize that what they're feeling is grief. And that's one of the things I think that a lot of caregivers don't realize is what they're actually feeling is grief. And so I've had that happen where, people have come to me for something else and they
Right.
realize, oh, that's grief too. I didn't know that.
My mother had a caregiver who we all got very close to, and she was the sunshine in my mother's apartment while my mother was dying. And the day that my mother passed away, she came to me and she said, I'm not sure where my tears are all for your mother or if they're for my sister. And I looked at her, and her sister was in hospice the whole time. I had no idea, never shared it. And at that point, the two of us, we both broke down. And we have remained friends. We've talked about it on numerous occasions that she knew my mother for so long, even though she knew what to expect. The way it happened, she wasn't ready for it. And so we've talked about the fact that she never got help for it. And so just lately, I said to her, I think it's time you need to talk through it, because they were simultaneous. And I work with an organization that has caregivers. And I've asked them, how do you help them get through it, especially when they're with a client for a long time? They've created a relationship. It's not just caregiving anymore. So I'm hoping those who are listening that we all take care of ourselves. I mean, we've talked about different ways that we do it. I know for me, it's journaling. And I'm so glad that I do that, because I can get things out on paper and I can look at it and go, you know what? That's not bothering me anymore. And I can tear it up and get rid of it. Or I can look at it and say, I need to look at this again in the future. So you both in grief recovery are doing it differently. You're one-on-one, Kristy, and Christina, you do it in a group. Do you both provide homework or exercises for your clients?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We basically do the same exact program, but Christina does it in a group setting and I just do it one-on-one.
Right.
But it's the same program either way.
The same program. Okay.
And there is homework.
Yes, I remember that. And I've gone back and reviewed my homework numerous times. And I think this has been very, very helpful for me. Well, I want to thank you, ladies. I know this wasn't the organized podcast that we had in mind for today. My guest that I had, I'm not quite sure what happened, but she quite wasn't ready to come on. And so we're not going to ask anybody to share their story and beyond if they're not ready for it. But next month, Alison is going to lead us, and I'm sure she will have an interesting guest. And in the meantime, Memorial Day is coming up, and for many people, it's going to bring up memories, and it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel it. And
it's okay to feel happy. I think a lot of times people forget that you can feel happy, joy, sad, laughter. It all is part of the grief experience. So it's okay if you're suddenly feeling happy and then suddenly feeling sad. That's all right. Just let whatever emotion show up and let it be. And another emotion's going to show up after that. So it's okay. And there's nothing, a lot of times people think there's something wrong with me. I should feel sad. Why am I feeling happy? It's okay. It's okay to feel however you're feeling.
I remember telling my mother when my grandmother died, I was 9 years old. And in the Jewish religion, you sit for a period of 7 days. It's called Shiva. And we were at my aunt's house, and I heard my mother and her sisters laughing. And I went running into the other room and asked, "How can you be laughing? Grandma died." And they looked at me and they said, "Oh, don't you remember?" And they would tell me a story, which of course I wouldn't have known. And they would be giggling about it. And then the next minute, they'd be wiping tears away. And it took me a long time to finally figure it out that, hey, it is okay. Let's tell those stories. Let's share those memories because they make us feel good. And it's okay to cry too. Thank you, ladies. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you next month. Take care.
You too. Bye.